Hey guys, so I'm back. I apologize that it took way so long to get back to you guys and doing these awesome videos, but in case you didn't know, the Great Movie Ride, which is where I currently work, and I actually have, as of now, 4 more shifts left, is closing, and so that kind of caused a little bit of a chaos, hiccup type of a thing, and especially since I wasn't sure if I was transferring back to the launch bay. If I was transferring back, I wanted to do kind of like a new new version video of that, but I'm not transferring there, so here we are. Finally, you're getting a, how to open up how I open the Star Wars launch bay video, how to work at what the launch bay is like. That was a really weird intro, but it's about the launch bay. Alrighty, so if you don't know, I was actually on the opening team of the Star Wars launch bay. It opened up in December. No, sorry, it opened up in November. No, it was December. It opened up December 1st, 2015. I transferred there and we started training in mid-November. That said, after I did the Fairy Frost Mother, shindig, I transferred back to the circus, only for a couple weeks because they posted that they were opening up a new Star Wars attraction, and I instantaneously put in for full-time for that because at this point I needed full-time desperately. And I got it. I transferred there a couple weeks later. I do want to say, just to put this in as a note, because I'm very proud of this, I actually, the week they were doing interviews, I was out of town for my best friend Lizzie's wedding. And so I called casting 3 times until they gave me the answer that they were going to give me a phone interview. Because I was available, I literally just was not in the same state. And so finally, 3rd time's a charm. If you ever have issues with casting, just bug them to death until you can't anymore. And I was able to get a phone interview, or an opportunity to have a phone interview, and had the phone interview in literally in the hotel of the state we were staying in, and I ended up finding out a couple days later that I got it, which is awesome. Okay, so because I was transferring into a new location, they had me do On With The Show, which is basically Hollywood Studios' version of orientation, kind of. Each park has their own, and so I had to do that again. And but because they didn't have our location, we literally didn't have our location till the day of. So for 2 weeks, they kind of didn't know what to do with us. And with any opening attraction, there's going to come a point in time where they're kind of like, I don't know, because it's a new attraction. They don't have either the rules for that, or they don't have the guidelines for it, because they're literally making it as you go. So it was kind of 2 weeks of like, we're going to need you this day, we're going to do this day. Scratch that, we're not going to do that today, we're going to do that another day, we're going to do this instead. It was a lot of team bonding, a lot of theming, coming up with different names and things to call different things, and which was a lot of fun, but considering it was during the week of my birthday, it was kind of obnoxious because we had to completely change all of our schedules, and we were working, early morning, to 8-hour shifts, and I think one week we had 7 days straight, I want to say. So it was not easy, but I mean, we did get to have a whole afternoon of watching the classic 3 Star Wars movies and free pizza. And since it was around Christmas season, we got Ewok coloring sheets. So it wasn't the end of the world, but opening an attraction can be very hard and very stressful. So anyway, we finally got the building. Kind of. It was still under construction the day before we opened. We only were able to go in and have about 4 hours of training inside the building. So we really didn't get any on-the-job training, like seeing it working and practicing it working until the day that we opened. I did not open, thank God I closed. That said, I came in early to go and check out how things were operating and how things were working. But every single position had a trainer and a manager nearby in case something happened. So it was one of those things where you're kind of working, but you're still actually training. A lot has changed from how we opened it is completely different from well, not completely, it's more or less different from how it's operating now. Even now, if I train, there would be new things that has changed. But luckily, I still have a lot of friends there, a lot of opening cast that have kind of been keeping me up to date with how things are operating, and I check in on it every once in a while. Sorry, allergies. So we used to have a lot of extra positions. For example, instead of just having one person at the greeter, we had 2 there, and then we also had someone halfway down to make sure people were going to the left, to the right. Oh, in case you don't know what the launch bay is, the launch bay is a 10-minute theater. It's mostly a gallery, museum of different artifacts and pictures and things from the Star Wars saga, like all the movies. And then it's also three meet and greets, which I'll get into that later. When we opened, it was Chewbacca and Darth Vader. Oh, I miss you, Vader. And then we had a cantina area where you could trade with the Jawas. I'll also get into that later. And we had an infinity room where you could play video games, another gallery, and then a store. So that was all of the launch bay. We didn't do the store part, but we worked everything else in attractions, by the way. Anyway, so we used to have a lot of extra positions. There were a lot of other extra positions that I won't get into because it doesn't really matter because they're not there anymore. We used to have the infinity room, which infinity was, it's really sad because we really got into it. My fiance and I really got into it. And then like a couple of months after they opened the launch bay, made this big deal about infinity and the new version, they like ixnayed on it and just kind of discontinued everything. So we had this infinity room, which I will again not get into it because it's not there anymore, but let's just say it was a really bad setup for a game demo. I've been to a lot of professional game demos before and they didn't do a really good job at this, but they changed it to a BB-8 meet and greet, which is fabulous, and so that's there now. And there are lots of small rules that have changed since then. Like, for example, we weren't going to allow any food in the building because it is a museum, but now we have the dessert party in there, so they slowly transitioned into letting us have food, or letting guests have food in the building to a certain point. They're not allowed into the meet and greet room, so that way they don't get Chewie's fur all dirty, and Chewie likes to snack, so that's why. Oh, also the dessert location. The dessert party location used to be outside in our external theater queue, which is abnormally long. We've never really used that other than like New Year's Eve and like the first week or so that we opened. It used to be out there, but for whatever reason they moved it inside into the dark side extra queue line because Kylo is really not as popular as Disney thinks he is. And then also Jedi Fast Passes, Jedi Academy. When we first opened, we were not going to be what's called a guest recovery location. So basically if something happens, you know, we need to do something to make that guest stay better. We don't have any fast passes for anything in the attraction. So we weren't going to have that availability. We would make, yes, of course, special circumstances for like Make-A-Wish and stuff like that, but it was not supposed to be a guest recovery location. So that way we wouldn't be too busy because we didn't have the space for it. Well, Jedi Temple, Trials of the Temple, or Jedi Academy, whatever it's called, decided to kind of spring on us these cute little Jedi Temple fast passes for when it rains. They hand them out to the little Padawan and their family, and they get to come and meet either Chewbacca or Kylo, not both, one or the other, so that they do that now. I don't know how often they use that now. I know when I left a year ago, it was like still like a new thing. They still continued to do it, and it worked really well after a while. I can't imagine that they don't do that anymore, but that was something that we weren't supposed to do, and that's how we do things now. But anyway, moving on. The locations. You got the front greeter. Then you've got a loader, a person who counts to make sure there's enough people for the theater, and then the person who kind of clumps them all together to make sure that there's no like people just wandering around. There's enough space for everyone. Then you've got the exit. It's not really an exit. It's more like people think it's an exit, so they want to exit out, but it's actually the bypass entrance if you're going to bypass the theater, because you were originally supposed to go into the theater and then go into the launch bay, but we realized a lot of people weren't going to want to see a 10-minute theater every single time they go in, so there was a bypass, and yeah, and there's a guard there to make sure people don't go in or go out the inn. That was confusing. We also have the meet and greeters, one on the dark side, one on the light side. You also have the meet and greet loaders, one on the dark side, one on the light side. The loaders, basically, it's kind of like Princess Fairy Tale Hall, where you count how many people are in the next couple of parties. You let the character attendant know how many, and they tell you how many parties that they can take into the room at a time. That's why if you ever wonder why you're there, like you count how many's in your group, how many's in your group, it's to let them know, okay, I could take the first 2 parties, okay, I can make the next 2 couple parties, oh, that party's too big, we're gonna have to wait, the room's too big, or the room's too full. Then you have the cantina. The cantina's changed a little bit now that we have BB-8, because that's where the entrance is to that. Before, it was just where you hang out and make sure people don't harass the Jawas, kind of direct people where to go because that's like right in the middle, and you can kind of come in and out through different ways, and you can get really lost in that area. From what I heard, sadly, I think, don't quote me on this, I think they're getting rid of the Jawas, which is really sad because they're my favorites. They're my favorites. I love the Jawas. Oh, they used to trade. I don't think they do that anymore. They used to trade little droid parts, like where you can make droids over at Tatooine Traders. They don't do that as much anymore because they ran out of parts really quickly, and so the Jawas are gonna go bye-bye soon anyway, which is, I'm really upset about that. That makes me sad. Oh, and then we have one more gallery. We have 2 galleries. One right after you exit the theater, and then the other right before you go into the store. The one before you go into the store is typically for the new movie, but they don't update it as much as they should. Okay, pros and cons to working. I'm gonna go into the cons. It can get boring. There are moments, especially early in the morning or late at night, where people just run quickly to go meet Kylo or go meet Chewbacca, and so they don't want to do anything else because they either did everything already or they're just wanting to get that one meet and greet and go. And so they're literally, you're just standing there pretty much guarding a statue, doing absolutely nothing with no one to talk to, because there are a lot of areas, especially since they've gotten rid of the extra positions, where there's not even another cast member to talk to. And so it can kind of get a little boring. I didn't find it as boring. I mean, some nights it was more frustrating than others. And there's a certain area you're allowed to kind of walk around, but like, it's just, especially like that exit guard where you're not supposed to let people out, like that can get really boring because people literally just walk by you and then that's it, you know? And then if you don't personally like Star Wars, or the guests coming in don't know what Star Wars is, they're just looking to get another character photo op, which by the way, the characters do not sign autographs, then it can kind of get boring, because if you like Star Wars and you get a guest come in, they're like, I don't know what Star Wars is, I just want to be Chewbacca. You're just like, really? You don't know who Chewbacca is? You're getting mad that Kylo was rude to you? Do you know who Kylo is? He blew up a planet. And then, or if you don't like Star Wars, you're just like, this isn't interesting at all. You know, you got all these fans coming in and you don't care. And then it's really hard to explain what it is. Like in a short, like people come up to you at the front and they're like, what is this? It's like, okay, well, it's not a ride. It's literally everything else. It's a museum, it's a meet and greet, and it's a 10-minute film. And it's really hard to say what it is and make it sound really interesting in a short sentence. They originally wanted us to be like, it is a celebration of all things Star Wars with a blah, 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 and do this whole big spiel. And I quickly realized, I'm not saying that. I'm going to tell them exactly what it is. It's a museum. No, it's not a ride. Unless you love Star Wars, you probably don't want to go in. And yeah, that may not be the best thing to say to kind of pitch to someone to come in. But like when you get so many people coming in and they don't really care about the attraction, they come in and they go, oh, this is boring. It's like, I'm going to tell you right now, you're probably not going to find it interesting, so go do something else. Now for the pros. I'm a little biased on this because I was on opening team, and I will get into why I'm not working there anymore in just a hot second. The coordinators, there are still a lot of opening coordinators, there are still a lot of opening trainers, and a lot of opening cast that still work there. And they are awesome because you have to interview and build this awesome opening team. Typically the cast members who open it, they care about the attraction and they work well together. We had a lot of bonding exercises, so a lot of us are like family. Even to this day, there's a lot of casts that I still consider like sisters and brothers that work there, and I haven't seen them in months. So that is awesome. You can guarantee on that. The managers have kind of changed a little bit. I think our opening managers don't work there anymore. That's typical, I guess, for opening from what I heard. But I know the coordinators and the cast, the people you'll work with most, are really awesome. And I freaking love Star Wars. Like, Star Wars and Disney are two of my favorite things in the world. When they merged together, like, everything was right in the world. And then you added Starbucks into there and the world was even better. I absolutely love Star Wars, as you can tell from, this is just a small collection of my Star Wars things. I have so many more Star Wars things. Like, this is probably my 6th Star Wars shirt that I own. I love Star Wars. Like every May, like, it's Star Wars month. And so getting to be on the opening team of a Star Wars attraction, even as a temporary one, because supposedly it's supposed to be closing after Star Wars Land opens. Supposedly, don't quote me on that. I love it. It was awesome. So, why am I not working there, you may say? Well, long story short, and to not bash Disney on this, every year they kind of do like, they redo the budget. They look at what attractions are doing well, what aren't doing well, what areas need more casts, what areas don't need casts. And we opened shortly before Shanghai Disney opened, and there were a lot of things that went into it, but let's just say the joke budget cuts, hashtag budget cuts, went around a lot. And it wasn't Shanghai's fault specifically, but like because like also in Hollywood Studios, that was also the year that the whole back of the park closed to start construction. And so you had a lot of extra cast members floating around. And so what they decided to do at Hollywood Studios is and I think they also did this for Fantasyland from what I was told as well. They basically had everyone, except for Tower and Rock and Roller Coaster. I don't know why they weren't included in this. They had everyone in pretty much like 2/3 of the park basically get re-transferred in a sense. They went by seniority and they're like, okay, what attraction do you want? And you had to make a list, like bid for what attraction you wanted, what hours you wanted, yada yada yada. Like just like our typical bid, except it was for every single attraction in the park. And they asked you where you wanted to go, where, you know, and stuff like that. And they told you, okay, you're gonna get this because this is your top pick, or do you want your second pick or whatever? And then that's where you transferred to. Well, since like I would say at least half of the Launch Bay cast members just got their full-time status, so that meant that they were at the bottom of the seniority list, we really didn't get our pick, really. I mean, we kind of did, but we kind of didn't. And especially since they lessened the amount of full-timers that were allowed to be at the Launch Bay in the courtyard area, because it's a part of the animation courtyard, most of us had to leave. Like literally, it was like one of those things where there's like a couple of spots open and there's like 20 of you, so you're all not going to get the Launch Bay. And some cast were excited because the Launch Bay wasn't what they thought it was going to be, and a lot of people, myself included, were devastated and spent a good week coming home crying after every single shift. It was like literally, it was devastating. That was probably like one of the worst, like, you know how upset I was about, I kind of mentioned it about the Fairy Frost Mother thing, because that was like my favorite job ever. Like the Launch Bay was the first area that I had worked where I was 100% happy, that I could see myself growing into a trainer and into a coordinator and maybe becoming a manager, like staying there. I was like, I'm gonna stay here at least until Star Wars Lands opens, and I'm gonna build my career and it's gonna be awesome. And I was so excited about that. Like literally, I was so happy where I was. And they're like, sorry, you're gonna have to go somewhere else. And that literally just broke my heart and so many other people's hearts. And this video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to wrap this up. It was really sad, so long story short, that's why I transferred out, because I really had no choice in the matter. It wasn't because we did anything wrong, it was just because it was Disney's way of, let's reorganize everyone so everyone is balanced, because our part-timers weren't getting any hours. It was really bad. Like, that's how overstaffed we were. So everything is good, more or less now, when it comes to staffing. But like, I currently work at the Great Movie Ride. That's where I got transferred to, and that's what my next video is going to be about. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know below, what do you guys think? Are you going to the Launch Bay? Have you been to the Launch Bay? What do you guys think of the Launch Bay? I still love it, so be nice. I'm going to try my very best to still transfer over there, even with this new transfer that I'm going into. I want to go back. I want to work there, and then I want to open Star Wars Land, and that is my cast member plan. So anyway, hit subscribe for more videos. I do daily vlogs every single day on my Danny Diaries channel, which you should be able to see in the description below. And I will see you in the next video.